Hi there, and welcome to Let's Slow Down, a podcast for all of you who feel tired and stressed from this overwhelming world. Here we'll have fun, inspiring conversations about living life on our own terms and explore ways to ease the pace of our modern world, because life really is good when you're relaxed enough to be present for it. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Stolting, and I welcome you to this space where I hope to inspire you to slow down, because life is too short to let it go by in a blur. So take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the show. We have a special treat today with our resident health expert, Gina back on the show to talk about back to school and the fall. Hey, Gina, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for being here, as always.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
I can't believe we're talking fall and back to school already. I don't know where the time went, where the summer went. Last week on the podcast, I offered everybody a few ways to help kind of mitigate the stress of a new season, back to school for all of you that have kids, leaving the rhythm of summer, which is just a lot looser and less structured, all good, but then makes it really tricky to get back into that routine come the fall. So I'm trying to get ahead of it, do some damage control myself this year, and I shared that with everyone last week. But I thought today we could take the approach of damage control from a health perspective. So that's the direction I'm hoping we can go today to survive the back to school stress.
If possible.
Yes, as much as possible. I mean, I'm thinking if we can get ahead of it a bit, it's got to help, right? It's got to help a little bit if we can just do a
strong.
little bit. Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like every year I'm like, all right, I got this. And by like week 2, it can feel like you're drowning. So we're going to try not to have that happen this year. And I thought we could maybe start with mindset a little bit, just preparing mentally for this next phase. So what do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to preface this by saying, those of you who don't know me, my life is not calm. It is a little bit chaotic. I have 3 children. I have my own business. Just life is messy. And I don't know that my good friends would necessarily think of me as the most organized person. But I also think in some ways that's my superpower. But because of that, I have to have things in place and I have to get myself into the mindset of this big transition. So I'm actually doing that right now because my kids start early. They start in next week. So I have 1 week and we've been all over the place this summer. So it's taken a lot for me to really get back into that mindset. But I think that is something that we need to do. You need to take a few days to prepare. So I did that yesterday. I went through emails that I needed to catch up on. There were all these links to go through, looking over their schedules and talking about it with them and with my husband and my family, getting everyone on board that I know that's going to need to know the schedule. And I'm a very visual person, so I like to write things by hand. That helps my mind and my brain. And also sometimes writing things out and writing down things rather than just thinking about them in your head can be helpful, because you have to remember it's our thoughts that are the most common driver of our stress. Remember, it's hard to figure it all out before you're in it. You can be panicking and worrying, but half the things that you're worrying about aren't even going to come to fruition. So something you're going to have to wait and figure it out as you go, but do as much as you can ahead of time. And remember that you're going to find a way. It will work out. You got through last year, and recruit help when needed. I think that's a big thing for me that I've learned over the past few years, is not being afraid to ask for help. So that's how I get into my mindset. And then there's a few things that I've been doing this week to help me overall, because if I have a clearer mind and I feel more organized ahead of time, then I know everything else falls into place. So since we've been home now, like steadily, I'm getting my house organized. So especially with my oldest daughter, I recruit her help. We're going through the closets and the shoe baskets and cleaning things out. This is a great time to find things to hand down. I have 3 daughters, so we love handing down, to donate and to start fresh with an organized closet, because this will help your mental space. And I know, Anne-Marie, you talk about like decluttering a lot, but that is such a big weight off of your mental strain. So just by having that organization and like, I love being able, it's really sad for me because I do have 3 girls. So when I finally have to like really pass along things, it's so sad, but it felt so good to be able to give, give things that were no longer serving our family. So
Yes,
that was
I would
super
like to add to
helpful.
that. Like I just
Yeah,
agree with you so much on that because our outside world, it doesn't have to be like Pinterest perfect, magazine ready, or anything like that. Just for your own mental sanity to have some organization, have it feel less cluttered, just even for visually, for your eyes, right? For that visual learner, for those of us who do absorb so much visually, because I'm the same way. I write things down. The visual piece is huge for me. It just really does help you to relax a little bit, help you to feel like I got this, a little bit more in control. And it's something that's very easy to do that can make a huge difference.
for sure.
So I love it.
And it's so funny. I think people always expect me to be giving tips about food and nutrition. But honestly, I think until we understand that if our nervous system is heightened and clutter and disorganization can really put us in that state, then it doesn't matter what foods you're eating or anything like that. If your mental state is not in a in a good place and your nervous system is not calm, then everything is secondary. So I think just having a fresh start and feeling a little bit more organized and then taking that to the kitchen. I promised my daughter today, she loves to help doing a fridge and pantry clean out. We
Love it.
take inventory. This is a great time to take inventory of what you have. It's so funny when you go through your pantry sometimes and you find spices and packages of what God knows what from years and years ago, getting rid of that, cleaning your fridge, starting with a nice clean fridge, and then stock up on your staples. So I have a whole list of fridge, freezer, and pantry staples in an ebook I created. It's called Back to Basics Recipe and Prep Guide. And I created it with back to school in mind. But I have a whole list in there of things that I always have on hand in my fridge, in my pantry, in my freezer. So, and go to foods. I do try to minimize processed foods as much as I can, mostly at our meals, but you can't avoid them completely. And it's so helpful to have easy grab and go, especially snacks. I mean, that's everything we buy
Yeah.
is pretty much,
Yep.
it's a processed snack to send to school. But even in a pinch meal. So I love to have enough things on hand. So this is something that I really do. I honestly do. I take inventory and then I restock. And I just went to Trader Joe's. I stocked up on snacks. I got some stuff for the freezer. And I already feel so much calmer and more at peace. Like if I needed to come up with a meal in a pinch. So that was a
That's
big thing. So
huge.
I'm going to be
That's
cleaning out my
huge.
fridge today and I'm going to try to remember to make a reel about it.
Do it. Do it. We'll post it too. And the
Yeah.
ebook as well. I'll make sure that I have links for all of this and that everyone can find it easily because it sounds like that could take a huge weight off.
Yeah.
And opening a clean fridge, it's
Mhm.
like, it feels so good when you open it. And
Yeah.
even that's something that even like the kids will notice. Everybody notices it. They might
Oh,
not even be
yeah.
able to figure out what's different, but they're gonna be like, this looks so nice. This is good. And
Right.
I feel like we're more likely to make a healthy choice
For sure.
when we open a fridge that's cleaned out and the
And if
healthy
it's
choices are made.
organized.
Yes.
My 4-year-old can see where, like, the yogurt sticks are in the pouches. Listen, I am not the home edit here. My fridge I don't have all the matching bins and, like, a million of one thing, but it does look so much nicer, and it's easier in those rushed mornings to grab whatever you need to grab. So,
Sure. Yes.
you know,
And
and
every
it
little
is,
thing you can do.
yeah. This transition is overwhelming, and it's a little sad too to say goodbye to summer. It's just a
Mm.
lighter time. But, sometimes having a little bit more structure in your day or when you have a bit of a tighter schedule, I don't like to be too overbooked, but we do have
Right.
a more fit schedule. I'm actually more productive. I've been like that since I was a kid. I live somewhere between loving to be spontaneous and easy breezy and needing that bit of a structure, but since I'm not organized by nature, having, like, a few systems in place really does help, and I find that I manage my time a little bit better than just, like,
I
the
do
freedom of
too.
the summer. "Oh, I'll get to it, I'll get to it."
Absolutely.
So keep that in
Yep.
mind as well, like, let that be a positive mindset piece for you that with structure comes a little bit more calm and sanity, hopefully, sometimes, even though it's a
Absolutely.
little overwhelming.
And even just planning in terms of scheduling and not overscheduling, I'm starting to actually in my calendar, like chunks of time or a day here and there, do nothing. do nothing.
Amazing.
Because all these things come up and most of them are really fun and positive and you want to do them, but we can't do them all. So just
Filtering.
trying to remember, okay, rest needs to be a priority, space, just time to breathe, just time to do nothing or time to catch up. Maybe that's going to end up being a time to catch up, whatever it is that you need at that time. I'm starting to schedule that in and it's been very helpful. So
That's amazing. Yeah, that digest time is just as important, and for the kids too. Life is so go, 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 but our bodies need the chance to absorb everything that's gone on and to calm our nervous systems.
absolutely. That's what I was just thinking. And kind of as summer was winding down, like it's so important as we have these transitions into a new season to reflect on what just happened.
Mhm.
Just take a little bit of time and reflect on that because we can learn so much from everything that we just experienced. And if we wait until summer's about to approach again next year, we're like a lot of these things we're not going to remember. The little
No.
things, the little tweaks that maybe, oh, I wish I had done it this way. I think it would have been easier to get through, X, Y, and Z. So I feel like that reflection, just taking that time, and you need to have a little time and space and quiet to do that.
Mhm.
So again, just remembering like these things they're not difficult, but they're difficult to find time to do. Just trying to prioritize them, being more intentional, and having the space to be present. Like we need to be planned out and all to a point, right? But then to be present in real time to know like, okay, are these things that we're doing, are they actually serving us? Is it actually what we
Yeah.
need right now? That check in. And oh, I wanted to mention too that just going back to what you said about writing things down, getting that mental load out of your head and onto paper,
Yeah.
I think is such a great tip. I'm a paper person. Everybody makes fun of me because I still have a paper
Well,
calendar.
me
I
too.
have I have digital too, but I like to see it and I like to write it in because it helps me organize and just get an idea of where we have to be, where we're spending our time, all of it.
Yeah.
And getting it out on paper, especially at night, I feel like when you're trying to go to bed and your mind is still busy and you're thinking about something you forgot to do or something that still needs to be done, whatever it is, I find that if I jot it down, I can get to sleep a little bit easier.
Mhm.
So just get it out of your head. What are your non
Right.
negotiables for a busy season?
Number one, I always I promise you, I have this beautiful board in my kitchen. I'll even take a picture if you want. Plan my menu for the week. My sister gave me a really pretty board that has the weekly menu on it, and I religiously plan what I'm going to cook each week. But I look at our schedule. Like there might be a night where I'm not cooking, but I know like it's order or it's whatever it is, and I use that menu to make my grocery list and shop accordingly before the week starts. So this way I have everything on hand. If I don't do that, if I don't have a plan in mind, literally everything else falls apart. And then we spend $1 million on takeout food that doesn't always leave me feeling my best or just not making the most supportive choices. But also, I know myself. And if I'm not eating well, I need to eat a lot of good food. And I love a lot of different nutrients to fuel my body. Everything's harder when you're tired. If I'm not eating well, I'm not at my best. And my kids, I'm already like reactive sometimes with them. I try to be patient, but if I'm not doing my best, then there's no hope. So that is my number one. And then I guess number two would be doing some really simple prep. I don't, I'm not the type of person that I make like 7 of the same breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the whole week. But I do really simple things. Like I always wash my fruit in my vinegar water so that it could be ready for breakfast or to grab for a snack. I make a few breakfasts ahead of time, maybe a lunch for me as well, not just for my kids. Because lunch is tough because it's often an afterthought, and then you're hungry in the middle of the day. Like
Right.
that's my hungriest time. And if you're not prepared, then what are you grabbing for? Or you're skipping, and I don't like to skip meals. So just doing some really simple prep, having some hard boiled eggs on hand, things like that. So I would say those are my two things that I really don't let slide. And like you said, it's all about making the time. I don't have a lot of time. My weekends are even going to be crazy, but I will always make 45 minutes tops. You can find 45 minutes because,
Yep.
to just do those things on a Sunday so that the week feels better. I would say those are my two main things.
Those are great. I feel like those could be so beneficial to everyone. And I think remembering and focusing on the why, thinking
Mhm.
about what that week is going to look like unfolding. If there isn't the plan and if the meals aren't ready to go, you don't have it figured out, it helps you so much. So knowing, thinking ahead to that, like if you feel like on that Sunday you're thinking, I don't feel like doing this today.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. I just don't want to do it. Then thinking about what's going to happen, what the repercussions
Yeah, what does
are.
that mean later in the week? Mhm.
Exactly. I feel like that can really help motivate or at least get you to, just get it done. Be like, all right, it's an hour and it's going to make my week so much smoother. I'm going to feel so much better.
Yeah,
And like what you're saying, you're not going to be at your best if you're not fueling your body and you're
no
not,
way.
eating the foods that you need. And for me,
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I notice it so quickly. I feel like we're a lot more sensitive than we realize. Like
Gosh.
one
Mhm.
fast food meal or whatever, not that we do that often, it just, you pay for it for a while.
Yeah.
And in a lot more ways than maybe your stomach doesn't feel great. Like you are, if you
Mhm.
really think about it, you do get more tired. You do get kind of impatient and
Yeah.
it's just, it can cause a lot of other reactions to happen. And I think the same goes for sleep. So for
Yeah.
me, I would add my other non-negotiable, definitely with, I'm trying to be better with the meal planning, but is also the sleep. Cause I noticed that
Yes.
I hit a point and I'm just like, I am not pleasant to be around. I don't even want to be around myself at that point. So
Right.
getting that sleep before you get to that point.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one thing I'm looking forward to getting back on track with is my sleep because I did such a great job. I'll give myself a little such a great job of prioritizing my sleep last year because it was the first time in a while that I wasn't pregnant or nursing or dealing with like like I still have a 4-year-old, but she really sleeps well now. But gosh, for like 9 years to almost a decade, it was like really lousy sleep because my kids they're only like 2.5 years apart. And I'm really structured during the school year, much more than the summer. Because in the summer, we're up late, we're out more, I drink more, I eat later into the night. But for my kids as well. So this week, we're really starting even just like 10 minutes, getting them. And luckily, like the world cooperates because it is getting a little darker, a little earlier,
Helping a
which
little
makes
bit.
it easier. But getting your kids transitioned into their more structured bedtime is gonna be so beneficial for them and for you. So me, I need my sleep because I'm nothing to anyone else, but for them, because don't forget this transition is is huge for them. It's hard for us, but it is so drastic for kids. I'm an elementary
It
school
sure is.
teacher. I just resigned a year ago, but I went from being a student to a teacher for the majority of my life. They go from the freedom of the summer, being able to sleep in, less structure, more freedom, later nights, get-togethers, and now they're expected to wake up and be like little soldiers. They follow these rigid rules and routines all day. They're expected to sit for long periods of time. And little kids like really aren't meant to do that. Follow directions. They're meeting strangers. They're away from their homes and their families. And it's a lot. So they need sleep, but also I think expecting them and understanding that they're gonna be tired and spent, they're gonna be cranky and a little sad, they're gonna be out of sorts and driving you crazy, but knowing and acknowledging that ahead of time can help you with your reactions.
Yes.
Like I
Yep.
said, like I can be I try to be so patient until I'm not, and if I can be prepared to know that they're gonna come home and be a little bit difficult for the first few weeks, then that can be helpful to
It can be
keep
very
the
helpful. No,
bedtime.
you're right. You're right. And
Exact
it's just wrapping your head around it all. And
Yeah.
also knowing that, okay, we are going to adjust to this. It takes a little bit of
Mhm.
time, but in a couple weeks, it's going to feel like we're right back in the swing of things, like we've always been. I think transitions in general are really hard. And I don't think
Yeah.
that we necessarily give them I don't know, the time, the
Yeah.
energy that they deserve. And that's part of the whole like busy, busy culture that we live in. We don't slow down enough to recognize all of the things that you just said.
Yeah.
I haven't even really put it into words like that about this transition to school for kids, little
Yeah.
kids, big kids, everybody. There's so much new getting thrown at them every single day. And then, like you said, add that early morning and, just being more
Yeah.
tired during the day, add all of that to the mix. That's a lot. That's a lot for
It's
an
a lot.
adult, let alone a kid.
Yeah, we're more lenient with adults sometimes than we are with kids, and, like, I think something to remember is that kids' lives are so different from when we grew up because everything is so much more structured now. There's not a lot of downtime for kids anymore, and even after school, they go to all their structured sports and activities and things like that. Like, whereas I always played sports as a kid, but for some reason I would always also come home and like play with the kids in the neighborhood. Like I'd be out running
Yes.
around in the backyard and
Ride
there
your bike
wasn't
for a little bit, just
yeah,
decompress.
they don't have a lot of say throughout the day either. And children, like developmentally, like sometimes that's why they battle us is because they just want to stake their independence. So I think that's another transition that you can work on with them is making them part of, and I do this with my girls, of the planning of our meals. So I love when we sit down, they love to help me write on the menu board with chalk, like, cause it's a chalkboard.
Uh-huh.
My oldest one likes to write what we're going to make in. And then I have them sometimes the week ahead. What we do is have them choose the breakfasts that they want that week, the snacks, so I could go grocery shopping and the lunches, so that they have a say in at least what they eat, because they don't really have a say in anything else during the year. And being okay with some of their fun, safe foods, And like some kids can eat the same thing day in and day out. Like they'll have peanut butter and jelly sandwich every single day. My girls do not. They like a little variety. So I have a set rotation of foods. So for example, like for breakfast, I know pretty much Mondays are going to be chia pudding because I've prepped it on a Sunday. So maybe Monday and Wednesday is chia pudding. Tuesday is oatmeal because I always prep my dry oats. All these recipes are in the ebook as well. One morning is cereal because it's quick, but we know like ahead of time. And then lunch, like we kind of had like a little thing if they're not buying, like Monday and Thursday was a sandwich. Tuesday and Friday was a bento box, and Wednesday was a yogurt parfait. And it's almost like if they would get a menu from lunch, like what was for lunch that week, like they've now decided it. So that can be really helpful. And then we change up their snacks. So one week it'll be like, I don't know, pirate booty and a bar and some fruit. And the next it's pretzels and made good granola bites and fruit. And, I try to incorporate different fruits. So what kind of fruit do you want this week? Because variety in food is really good for kids so that they're getting a lot of nutrients. So I switch things up. I always have strawberries because they would eat strawberries every day, but then I pick different foods and we try to pick
That's a
out
really
the
good idea.
snacks.
Giving them a lot of say in what's gonna be on there, and then it makes your life a little bit easier. I like
Yes.
having a different fruit every week because then you can just kinda load up on one thing. You're keeping it pretty simple, couple of choices every
Mhm.
week. That's
Yeah.
huge because lunches are I
It's
struggle
a
with
pain
them.
in the butt. I know.
I know, and I feel like I always end up, like, deferring to just deli meat sandwiches, which I
Yeah.
don't I'm not, like, against them, but I don't really want us eating that every single day, but
Everything. Yeah.
it
I know.
kinda
And that's
happens
like
then.
their favorite. And I finally this year was like, fine, we'll do sandwiches. So we do it twice a week and then the rest of
Yeah.
the week. But yeah, I know. So you know what? Then you want to make sure that they're getting adequate protein in their meals, especially breakfast early in the day, like whatever snack, something that's going to sustain their energy and their hunger. And then also healthy fats because that's so important for their developing brains, but also foods that they enjoy because they're going to be feeling a lot of different emotions throughout the day. And if they're tired and then they open up a snack or lunch that they hate, is there anything worse when you're starving and like the meal in front of you, like you don't even want it?
Yeah,
Like I'd be in tears, instant
yeah,
tears. So don't
and a
forget, like,
kid might be.
honestly, like just let them,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I like to have a little bit of balance. And give them like smaller responsibilities. Like this has helped me a lot. Age appropriate. Of course, my oldest is 9.5, so she's a little more capable. My middle is 7. But having them fill the water bottles, having them put their lunch boxes in their backpacks and then empty them after school and helping to clear the table, that helps you with the transition, but that helps them also get back on track. And they like kids, and I know this from being a teacher, they like having a responsibility, they like being prepared. Kids like to know. So making them that calendar, whatever it is, and then talking through things with them.
For all of us. I mean, for the kids and for
Yeah,
us. And I think all of these points you're making are right on the money. And, it's up to us as the adult, as the parent, to just sort of gently guide them. They're not going to sit down and make a meal plan and menu, but we can sit down with them and do all the heavy lifting and just have them do the fun parts or have them do some
exactly.
of
Yeah.
like my kids all like chopping things now. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
Take a knife, have at it because I hate chopping stuff.
yeah.
It's a huge time saver. So kind of getting them involved where they can. And ultimately, I think all of this is exactly what you're saying. They like the structure and they like to know. They like to be prepared. They
Mhm.
like to know what to
Yeah,
expect. So involving them in the process a little bit
yeah,
can kind of take a little stress off of everybody.
for
These are
sure.
really
And you're
good.
setting them up too, because the more comfortable they come with preparing food and cooking, Like that's going to be, you learn more by doing and by example, so it's just going to become something that's easier for them later in life when they have their own
Absolutely.
families. Because I feel like cooking a lot of times comes from just like feeling confident enough to cook a meal. Because so many people are just intimidated by that. So if
Yep.
your kids are seeing you do it and helping out, like my 9-year-old every morning, Mom, can I bake something? Mom, I don't want to discourage her, but but she has no
Yes.
fears really when it comes
Yes.
to.
That's how Ella was when she was that age. And same thing every morning, like, oh, I feel like baking, whatever. And it got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, you feel like doing that. That sounds like a fun dream right now. And then we do it. And then it turned into like this massive amount of prepping and cleanup for me.
Clean up.
So
Yeah.
really around that age, I'm like, that's fine, but you
Yeah.
need to clean it up.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that was a game changer. And she stepped up to the plate and she did it.
Yeah.
And then the days where she
That's
really
great.
didn't feel like cleaning anything up, she just felt like baking. She kind of kept her mouth shut because she's like, all right,
Mhm.
mom's not going to help me on the other end of it, on the messy end and
Right.
the hard part. So, and over the summer,
Yeah.
you just made me think I had a really crazy day and it was just going to have to be a crock pot dinner because we were running
Mhm.
short on time, but I did not want to do more takeout. We had been eating a lot of junk. So I knew we had the ingredients. It was just a veggie chili. So I had my younger two prep it and I
Okay.
helped them quickly get the ingredients out and I just printed out the recipe I was going to use. And I have to say, it took them a lot longer than it would have taken me to put it together. I was kind of chuckling because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're still in there dumping things in the crock pot, 45 minutes later." But they did it.
So
And
cute. I love it.
it was really cute. They used, of course, a separate measuring spoon and, they used as many different
Uh-huh.
that they could possibly use, but they did it. And it was like a quinoa chili, which normally I
Ooh,
don't think they would have eaten it. They all ate it
but
because
they wanted
they
to
helped
because
make
they
it.
made it. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And it's, another recipe that they have under their belt. So I feel like these are life skills that we are teaching them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So important. Just having this conversation with you, I feel better about going
Oh,
into the school year.
good.
It just really helped. I hope
Well,
that it
it's
helped
like
our listeners.
it's getting real now. So
Yes. Yes. But I'm kind of excited about doing some of these things. I mean,
yeah.
I love that you always give us so many great things to think about. And more importantly, you make it easy for us to do them, to implement them.
So
So
that is the goal. Like
thank you.
simple, if you can find a way to simplify things, then yeah, even
That's
your
it. That's
meal
that's
prep
the
and
magic.
plan.
I think that's the key to success. So you have this ebook and I will make sure I link it and maybe we'll share some pictures of your meal planning
My
board
menu
or
for sure.
your super clean fridge.
Yeah. On Instagram, sometimes I post my menu the week before to give ideas like, which recipe would you like to see? So you could find them
Perfect.
there.
And tell everybody what your handle is on Instagram just so they can find you.
At Simply Balanced with Gina. And then in the ebook, I also have like strategy, like how to simplify meal prep because you can make it much more simple and less cleanup and less overwhelm.
Awesome. Sounds good. As always, thank you for taking time to share all of your tips and tricks with us and just the way that you think about being healthy and keeping a healthier mindset. It's very inspiring. And
Thank you. I'm happy to be here to share. Thank you for always incorporating me in your amazing podcast. You have so many wonderful speakers, and I'm like, wow, I get to be one of them. So
it's a win-win here. So thanks for being here today, Gina.
thanks for listening, everyone. Good luck getting back.
Right. Good luck. It's going to be a crazy week, but you can do it.
Yup. We got this. We got it.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and have been inspired to slow down and start living life at your own pace. As a brand new podcast, your listener voice matters. If Let's Slow Down is resonating with you, please take a minute to leave a review and rate us. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen and share it with friends. Remember, this is a process, so go easy on yourself. Be gentle and take all the space you need to thrive because the world needs you to be at your best, to love and serve others and yourself.